Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to talk about the most legendary doctor in China's 5,000 year history. So this is Hua Tuo. This doctor, he combined alcohol and cannabis, aka weed, and he was able to create the earliest known anesthesia in the world. He was the first one ever. And since the age of Hua Tuo, for the next 2,000 years, nobody has ever been able to replicate his medical feat. So let's talk about his story for a bit. So Hua Tuo, he's widely considered to be the greatest Chinese doctor of all time. His story goes back roughly 2,000 years. Now, because of almost all of his autobiography and all his medical records has been lost through time, it's difficult to find the exact date of his birth. So if you're thinking of a time period, this is during the Three Kingdoms, one of the most legendary eras in China's history. Hua Tuo, he was born in the modern-day Anhui province, and he was offered a chance to become a high-ranking government official, but he declined this because he didn't want to get into politics, and he decided to choose to practice medicine instead, and he definitely made the right decision. He concocted many recipes for anesthesia throughout his lifetime. However, it's very unfortunate, nearly all records for his medical recipes and his creations, such as his most legendary invention, which is the Ma Fei San, which literally translates to numbing boiling powder, has been lost through time. His autobiography, the Sanguozhi, he listed 16 medical cases that he treated patients with internal medicine, surgical, gynecological, and pediatric. So he was a jack of all trades. He was able to treat all kinds of illness that was known to mankind back in the day, and he once saved the governor's life after he's diagnosed of his stomach ulcer instantly, and having him quickly drink his concoctions. And Hua Tuo would tell this governor that his stomach ulcer will return in a few years' time, and it will become very severe if not treated right away. And yes, the ulcer would return a few years later. However, at this time, Hua Tuo, he was away, and none of the dozens of doctors, these were the best doctors in the province, could actually save the governor's life, and unfortunately he would pass away from this stomach ulcer. There was only one Hua Tuo. Nobody else could replace him. Now let's talk about Cao Cao. I'm sure many of you guys have seen this legendary character. He's one of the most famous generals from the Three Kingdoms. You probably see him in video games. Cao Cao, he was the most famous patient during Hua Tuo's lifetime, and this is a very tragic story. So Cao Cao, he suffered from chronic headaches and migraines. I mean, this is during the Three Kingdoms, and people were brutally murdering each other every single day, so this is probably normal. And it is suspected that it was possible that he had a brain tumor, that he had a cancer. So Hua Tuo was appointed his personal doctor because he was the #1 guy in the country, right? And Hua Tuo, he absolutely hated this job of being Cao Cao's personal doctor because obviously Cao Cao, he ruled with an iron fist, much like Joseph Stalin, and any bad news about his health could lead to a death sentence. So Hua Tuo, he would often lie about his wife being sick back home in order to avoid Cao Cao. And once he was approved to go back home and see his wife, he would continue to make up excuses to not come back to see Cao Cao because he was so afraid of him. And he was absolutely right. Hua Tuo's lies, did not work in the long term. Eventually, Cao Cao, he would be enraged by these lies, and he ordered the execution of Hua Tuo. Once again, this is the most legendary doctor in Chinese history. So, while awaiting to be executed, Hua Tuo, he destroyed his Qingnan Shu. And this is a book that contains many of his medical secrets. But even though he destroyed this, he did write down all of his medical techniques and practices, which he believed could save millions of lives down the road. And so he offered it to the head of security, the prison guards, for this scroll to be passed on to the future generations. However, these prison guards, they were too fearful of the consequences, and they refused. And you have to understand these guys, obviously, because Cao Cao, he ordered Hua Tuo to be executed. If they were able to accept his medical scroll, the prison guards, they could meet the same fate. So this is very unfortunate. So because of this, all of his medical scroll was burned, and his medical practices, all his techniques have been lost forever. So no one after Dr. Hua Tuo for nearly 2,000 years could find successful recipes for applying anesthesia while performing surgery in China. And after Hua Tuo's execution by Cao Cao, and Cao Cao's migraines only got worse, they never got better. And during this time period, Cao Cao will also lose his son, Cao Chong, and none of the hundreds of doctors, around Cao Cao was able to save his son, and he deeply regretted, killing Hua Tuo, because he really believed that if Hua Tuo was alive, his son could have been saved. Hua Tuo's legacy lives on to this day. Hua Tuo is also known for his extraordinary acupuncture techniques. So there's been 34 acupuncture points that's named after Hua Tuo. It's called Hua Tuo Jiaji. And any top-tier doctor in modern China today that's achieved amazing medical feats and that saved many of their patients' lives, it's hailed as Hua Tuo Zai Shi, which means Hua Tuo reincarnated. And let's come back to his anesthesia, right? The Ma Fei San. It is still a medical mystery to the present day that how Hua Tuo was able to come up with this recipe. Once again, it translates to cannabis boiling powder, and it is widely believed that this is the first ever anesthetic to be used effectively anywhere in the world for surgery. This numbing agent was a true miracle. Nobody before Dr. Hua Tuo was able to create it, and nobody else after him. So Dr. Hua, he was a true medical genius. He forever changed the history of Chinese medicine. The loss of nearly all of his medical records only made him even more legendary. Nobody else throughout history can replicate what he achieved, even 2,000 years after his death. Thank you so much for all your work. Rest in peace, Doctor.